our opinion in and come up with a madness, okay? Because I'll be honest, traditionally, I think the West Coast sounds more like what you would expect someone 500 years ago in Scotland to sound like. I'm not saying that they're all behind 500 years on the West Coast. I am a little bit, okay? It's the West Coast. I'm East Coast. Anything outside of Edinburgh, the capital city of Scotland, to me, is like north of the wall in
Well,
Game of Thrones.
well,
North of the wall, Edinburgh.
What we've got in London now is we have no longer got a Cockney accent. It's gone. It has totally gone. The kids have not got Cockney accents. You can go to Manchester, they've still got it. You go to Scotland, they've still got theirs. You go to the northeast, they've still got their Geordie twang going. London has got nothing. It's gone. It's totally and utterly gone. Right? They've lost the totally lost the accent. But you know, look, you know, the thing is about corruption, right? And the social science of it all. I can only come from two positions here. One, as a single father, and realise my kids needed a mother. Unfortunately, that weren't their reality. It was just me, and they suffered emotionally in other ways by not having that. That, you know, when you've got that stability of both parents, and unfortunately how they screwed us financially, and of course it's not very viable anymore, and hence our birth rate is plummeting, and probably will never ever.
Hey, listen, you got to punch in, all right? Listen, you got to be arthritis in that, and you got to punch in. My G.
Okay, all right, but so. You know, as someone who's brought up boys, and then the need to sort of do the right thing and not abandon, but also coming from my background as a policeman, I'm not a social worker, I'm not a libertarian. You know, I'm a police officer that works some of the most dangerous streets of Europe.
Yeah.
And you sort of saw what worked and what didn't. There's no need to go out your way and unnecessarily brutalise someone and stitch them up. I'm against corruption. Right, I'm against bearing false witness, and I'm not ever going to admit to being caught up in it, you know. But I've seen it, and it's not right. It shouldn't be right. But back then, it was a cultural reality, and hopefully CCTV goes a long way to sort of eliminating that. But we can't ignore crime. We just can't do it. And we need to take. But when you get corruption, you're looking at something that's totally different. You see, you get people going to it for a few reasons. One is there's a financial incentive that they're in trouble, and you know, you, for example, you get a warrant, right, to raid a house, and it's a drug dealer's house, and one of the things they used to do was hide their money in the freezer, right? No one knows that money's there apart from the man who's got it, right? So no one knows there. So you find that money, no one else is about, and you can pocket that money, right? There may be £2,000-3,000, whatever it might be. Now, it might be that it's a lone person working on his own, and that keeps him out of trouble. But again, he's sitting there thinking, if I can only do that next month, I'm going to be in the clear. And then you've got organised corruption, where you've got police units, mainly detective units, that is their MO. They will target the drug dealers, and they will be pocketing that money, right? Another thing that they would do is recruit informants, and informants used to get paid cash. So you go to a safety deposit box, they get a key, you get a key, and you give them the cash. Now that used to get shared out, 50 for them, 50 for the old bill. Okay, and then they get used to it. And then the police start then linking in with the gangsters. And they start wanting that gangster life. They can get as many drugs as they want. As a copper, if you want to get your hands on drugs, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. I've held just £1.8 million in two massive bags in my hand.
That would be the last day that anyone's seen me. I would be in the Bahamas under a new name, Simon something or other, and that'd be me done, mate. A 1.8 mil.
Well, the other thing is that I've been around 320, 96% purity kilos of heroin.
You can't spend that, mate. You can't spend that.
One of them bars, if I was to take one of them bars of heroin up to Glasgow, right? I could
rip your arm off, mate.
Honestly, I could
smell it as soon as you came over the border.
Well, that would go. The street value was 70,000. I'd get 20,000 wholesale bulk for that straight away.
Yeah.
You know, you've only got to get a contact and say, right, you know, look, this is what I've got. Bang. You know, and the other thing is, you know, when you start getting in with people, you
Yeah.
start saying to the drug dealers, right, we'll work together here. You carry on. We're going to leave you alone, but we're going to take down your competition, and that will raise the drug seizures in that area. It
Yeah.
will lower the drug dealing in that area. And we'll say to that person, you've got to be discreet, but we can do that. So they start giving you information. They'll say, right, that guy down there is doing it. You know, you're going to find money. Boom, boom, bang, you
Did
hit
you ever
them.
see the TV show called Ideal years ago? It was about
Yeah, was that with Johnny Vegas?
Johnny Vegas, and his best
Yeah.
mate from school was a policeman, and he was a dealer. And he would just go and bust all the other dealers in Johnny Vegas's area, so that the only place people could buy stuff was off him. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's mad
Well,
because
I knew guys. There were three guys that in their lunch break they would go out and they would apply for credit cards
right,
in their name, so they'd get because back then the postman was stealing credit cards because they knew there was a card in there and
yeah,
it was new. They could go out there and as long as they acted straight away, they could absolutely rinse the thing. So these boys were basically cutting the postman out. They were getting credit cards and then they were swapping them around. So I had yours, you had mine, he had the third person had whatever's, and then going out there hammering it and then just saying to the credit card company, I never received it. I never received it. And then, of course, they'd write off the debt. It never came out your thing. And they made a fortune doing that. A fortune, you know,
yeah,
just doing that. So there's scams within scams. You know, I knew one guy and he was a drug addict and he never had to pay for his drugs because stop and
yeah.
search or whatever it might be. I don't, you know, who knows? But you know, and then you start moving up, and then you get trusted, and you start going on to bigger units. So you go on to central squads, what they call them. You know, these big squads where you're now dealing with armed robbers and you're now dealing
Okay,
with big money
okay,
or unorganized criminals where they can start making offers. They can start saying, look, I had an offer made to me and I'd upset this gang. They were Turkish gangsters, Turkish mafia.
that's one of the worst gangs to annoy, John.
Yeah, well,
Turkish, Romanian, Argentinian, all of those ones, are scary, scary.
well, these are bad boys. So their average take-ins on a good night was £80,000, right? So they decided to give me a night's take-in, so I'd leave them alone because I was putting a big dent in their shenanigans. So I went to just a meeting with one and his solicitor. His solicitor went out for a cigarette and left me in a room with him. Said, "Oh, he
Yep.
wants to tell you something. I think he's going to give me information," and he passes over £4,000. I don't take it.
Can we just talk a minute about freaking lawyers, right? I spoke to a hitman from prison and I asked him, how do you set up a hit? And it's like, oh, it all goes through the lawyers. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, nobody's going to take a hit unless it goes through their lawyer. And it's like, what? Bonkers, mate. So the corruption is wild. Just keep going with what you're saying because
Yeah. You know, and then it goes higher up as well because people higher up are involved. But I wouldn't take it. But then the guy said, "Look, tomorrow we'll give you 76, and that's it. We'll give you 80,000."
the lawyer.
No, well, his lawyer knew about it.
Yeah, obviously, the lawyer can't be there when the illegal act takes place. But they can
I said to him,
facilitate it all.
"You knew about this," and he just laughed. But I didn't take the bribe, and I reported it, and then I ended up working on a covert level. So I ended up becoming like a participating informant. So everything I did, what I was in.
I hope you're not referring to me there, Fred. Hope you're not ever stating that I would put something out there that I'm directly quoting as rubbish, because that would be naughty of you, Fred, because I would never do that. Never do that. But yeah, I mean that the lawyer.
It goes from turning a blind eye to thieving to organised criminality, and then you start getting in the pockets of big major villains. So you've only got to listen to testimonies of these British gangsters and the connections they had with corrupt police. You get it with Dave Courtney, there was that case where he was involved with that guy Austin Warnes in a corruptible relationship.
Yeah.
That guy Joey Pyle goes on about he was caught up. There was some corrupt relationship he had with an officer. Kenny Noy was caught up. The officer that was in charge of the investigation against him was in his pocket. And then these coppers then start crossing the line. So what they'll start doing is getting involved with women that might be linked to gangsters. They might start sniffing cocaine, and then once they do that, the blackmail starts. So one guy, what he was doing was for a firm of